Undead Unluck is amazing. I really don't know any other way to say it but that. It's filled with top-tier world building, aesthetics reminiscent of high-tier older anime, and it just crushes at the depressed character competition. So I'm going to be talking about what I love about this anime and what the crazy world of Undead Unluck is made out of. Honestly, I just really love the world that was built for this anime. But honestly, there are a few holes in the story. But having a world as layered as this one, having a few holes is plenty acceptable. And seeing as there are probably 77 episodes left, I trust this anime to cover them all. But at the same time, by giving us so much about this world and still leaving questions, that's a really hard thing to do. But this anime does it flawlessly. For example, let's take a look at the rules of this world. Every time the Union fails a new mission, a rule is added to the world. Like the rule of Galaxy, where Galaxy just straight up is added to the world. Each of the rules are given a Yuma and or Negator who is attached to the rule. And every time that a new rule gets added, everyone in the world gets updated where they think the rule has always been there. Like with the update of Galaxy, where astronomy, calendars, and all that jazz just gets shoved into the world. But no negators are affected by the changes, so they just get confused. Now, Yumas are rules personified, the rule in a monster form, while negators are humans that reject the rules, and sometimes both can exist, like with Yuma Move and the Kid Unmove. Both exist at the same time with the same rule. But there are some questions that I have about the rules. If rules get added to people, what was life like before some of the major rules were added? Like with the rule Touch from Untouchable, or even Move, like I said before. Were people not able to move or touch things, or even unseen or unrepair? Could no one see or repair? Well, I think it might be the opposite. Rules were added to bring humanity closer to destruction, so I don't think the rules added changed life that much, but instead added demerits, like some people are unable to move, like through paralysis or broken bones. And for unseen, after the rule was added, people became blind and unable to see, and unrepair made it so some people were unable to heal. All of these things are real in the world, and it does indeed make it worse for people affected by these things. So it does ring true that it brings humanity closer to destruction. But I got nothing for Untouchable though, so let me know if you could think of anything. Anyways, none of these things were confirmed, but in my opinion, it makes the most logical sense. But besides the rules, the world itself gets looped every 101 rules that are added. The goal of the main team, the Union, is to complete quests to stop the rules from being added. Every time the world gets looped, items from the previous world that survived get imbued with memories and abilities. Touching one causes memories of the items to go into you, and the one controlling the loop is God, and the goal of the show is to beat God. Now, this is some really good world building. There is so much to work with in terms of abilities and events that can happen due to the looping and God. And this show really works with it, showing how Victor survives through each loop, how using the Arc artifacts one can pass their memories on to the next loop. Andrea is hiding that fact and doing it herself, trying over and over and failing each time to bring about the destruction of God is amazing. And not only that, but the foreshadowing from the painting Fuko made showing stars despite there not being stars. Then of course stars getting added to the Yuma Galaxy rule is truly amazing. And my favorite part has to be the manga, To You From Me, that is so prominent in this anime. We learn that the author of this manga knows everything that is going to happen in this current loop. But because he's afflicted with the ability Unknown, he can't tell anybody. So within the manga, he then reveals the future. And sure, that's fine and dandy, but let me tell you some speculations of mine. What if I told you that I know what the last scene of this anime is going to be? In fact, if any of you watched the first episode, you'd know as well. I am thinking that the first scene we saw will be the last scene we see, but with Fuko and Andy instead. I mean, that's the last chapter of the book, and the book is based on what's going to happen, so it just has to be the case. And not only that, but there's 101 issues of the book. There's also 101 worlds being added to Earth. And if we watch the title card for each episode, there are 3 slots for numbers showing that it can reach 3 digits. So my theory is there's going to be exactly 101 episodes of this anime where the last scene is the same scene as the last scene of the manga, which is the first scene of the show. But that's just a theory. An anime theory. And if that gotcha world building didn't make you love this anime, hopefully these next parts will. First off, this anime is so Monogatari Pilled in so many ways. First off, the animation is quite like it, though it doesn't have the same type of style with the character art, but most other things are quite the same, mainly with the backgrounds being heavily hit with CG. It's not terrible CG at all though. If you know anything about Monogatari, you'd know how good everything looks, and Undead Unluck keeps that up. Not only that, but one of the main things that Monogatari does is the random cuts to panels of different animated frames of characters, and that's like one of the biggest stylizations that the show has, and is quite prominent here as well, though not as frequent and is missing the whole blank numbered frames that appear in Monogatari, but that's another massive stylization that it takes from. And not only that, but one of the best things that Monogatari does is it makes long talks and descriptions not boring. It shows like many cool cuts, camera angles, and images to take away from the boredom. And it's great having that because who wants to just listen to people talk? And in lore-heavy shows such as both of these, long lore dumps and talks are pretty much needed to show off all that the world's got. But again, no one wants to sit through that, so it's great. You can easily see this through the explanation of Spoiled Town, where they overlay different images of random parts of the car over the screams of dying union employees. And I know I've just been comparing these two shows for a hot minute, but it's for a good reason. Monogatari is a really good anime, clearly seen by the many seasons and complete length of the entire show with movies and all. No self-respecting business would ever make a series that long if it wasn't popular, and if you've watched it, you'd know how fire it is. So comparing Undead Unluck to an anime as amazing as Monogatari just shows how it's so crazy good. So yeah, both be similar and both be super good. Thumbs up emoji, end of section. But on the bad side of the show, let me tell you, the first few episodes of the show make like 0 sense, and if you start watching it and don't really like it, please wait until like episode 5 because that's when everything starts getting pumped up. That's when the lore just starts getting dumped all over the show, kind of too much at once, like it really hits you like a truck all at once. But yeah, the first few episodes make like 0 sense, so please just stick through. I mean, this guy right here with the scar makes no sense. He doesn't break any rules, he doesn't have a union badge, and he's just weak. He never gets mentioned again, and it's just odd. You might think that he's not in the union, but then we see one of the henchmen who is working at the union later. So he does work there. Like, what? And then there's this whole Andy removes the card and doesn't go all out victor mode on them, and it just gets weird hair and better at fighting. Like, that's one of the biggest things that happens with him, that he can't take out his card to become OP because Victor will take over. Like, huh? And the union just seems so evil. I don't know if it was just me, but when I rewatched the show for the vid, it just seemed like they were so evil. Maybe they were supposed to be the bad guys the entire time, so make sure the bad guys look bad. But then they just become the good guys, and what happened to the evil aura that was coming off of them? That's like such a weird thing. And this one is smaller, but Yuma Move, the one that causes the cracks in the sky to, well, move peeps, is only seen like a few times after the first episode. But Andy clearly says,
電柱のワープ方法だ。50年前、俺を捕まえたやつも。
but that's just not it at all after. And they did make a manga of their adventures later in the anime. And it was basically the first few episodes in manga form. So one could say that the first few episodes of the anime were based on the manga that they made in the anime itself, thus retconning and showing reasons why the first few episodes were off. But at the same time, that's just kind of a cop-out. But yeah, I just really needed to rant about this. And again, if you really don't like the first episodes, they aren't really indicative of the anime as a whole, so please make it to episode 5. But besides all that, the characters are really so darn tragic. Like, all of them have some insane amount of trauma from just having or even when they got their abilities. At one point near the end of the show, we got a quick flashback of many characters' trauma without delving deeper into each. But we did actually get like a ton of tragedy from the other characters that did really get dived into the characters that got covered. Now, some of them can choose when to use their abilities, like Unchange, who decides when she makes something not change, while others can't control when their abilities activate, like Tatiana with Untouchable. She can't turn off her ability, so as long as she has it, no one can ever touch her. And those who can't choose are definitely in a worse position, like Fuko. No one can touch her. That is, if they want to live. She couldn't even get a haircut because whoever would touch her would have just died. And Andy, who just can't die and is forced to live in a loop for eternity, watching Earth get destroyed forever. Their abilities, though are really strong, are curses to them all. I mean, like if these abilities were real, you would not want to have one. And even the ones who can control their abilities, like Unmove, still are completely screwed. Like, he lived a normal enough life despite killing both his parents. At first, when he gained his abilities, he didn't know how to control them, let alone that he had one, so despite being able to control it, he killed his parents. And a quick aside, no parents are safe in this show. they all either die or lose their kid. And I mean, look at Unknown. Again, he couldn't control his ability and became completely unknown to the world. So he had to sit there and watch his mom cry about him missing while he was sitting right there, unable to even hold his mom, both of them crying their eyes out. And this might just be me, but dead parents are one thing, but being forced to watch them grieve for you while being right there is worse. And even if you're able to control your abilities and lead a normal life, it gets worse. Because of the rules constantly changing and educators not being affected by the rules changes, it screws with them. Like, Anu was just chilling until everyone started speaking English. And they're also getting hunted by many different organizations trying to either sell or dissect them, so that also sucks. But despite all the horribleness that happens to and is the characters, they all really seem happy. Like their abilities are actual curses placed upon them by an actual god that is just playing with them in an infinite repeating hellscape with a chance for them to escape that probably isn't even real. Yet, they can all smile. I, for one, love anime that show how in the face of despair, people are able to keep smiling and persevere. And despite the amount of depression that gets shoved into each of these characters, they really are thriving. And I just love when that's shown in anime. But yeah, this anime is just so good. I adore how everything in this world was built. And if my theory of 101 episodes is correct, we should get many more seasons to come. Especially seeing how top tier this anime was, I can't wait to see more. Anyways, this one took way too much time to make, so I'm completely out of time with this video. I really do hope you enjoyed this video though. And with that, I'm INI and a bye-bye.